All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Beyond the Sales Floor, where we dive into what are enterprise sales leaders doing and tactically how they're going about it. So today I have Ryan from Calm, but he'll introduce himself, his role, what he's got going on. So Ryan, talk to us.
Yeah, thanks, Morgan. Ryan Byrnes. Been with Com about a year and a half now. Been in this role just over 6 months. Prior, I was managing the small business team. Been in tech sales for close to a decade now. Salesforce, Zoom, and now here at Com.
Good stuff. So let's dive into the first question that we always ask everyone, which is what is an experience you're running right now that you're excited about?
Yeah, so something that we're trying to solve for is, how to build trust with value add touch points throughout the deal cycle, but actually without a call to action. So we call these thinking of you emails. These are going to highlight a piece of calm content that we offer, and it's a great way to engage with clients on a very specific agenda on something that they're looking to solve for. So let's say we've done a good job with identifying our second and third level of pain. This is our opportunity to send over a note in the middle of a deal cycle that says, hey, I found this piece of content on Com. Given what you're going through X, Y, and Z, I thought this would resonate with you and your team. No reason to get back to me, but just wanted to send this over. And what that does, that lack of call to action, that's going to build trust. It's going to allow that talking point on the next conversation that you have. Because I think often as sellers, we're trying to push our agenda and get those call to actions, but sometimes it's good just to provide those value adds without asking anything in return.
You know, I know this is your company is called Calm, but this technique could be called the Calm content
Yeah.
in itself. You literally could just call it that
Yeah.
because this is interesting because a lot of people, to your point, right? They're always trying to be like, "Hey, when's the next meeting? When's the next meeting?" Which you should be driving next steps. But I do like how you're bringing up things on the way that could be helpful content for them. So I want to take this a little bit further. When you're sending the content, is it content that you all have at comment you're sending them, or do you take another step where it's like content that you see that maybe they posted and you're commenting on that as well? And that
Mhm.
might always be the case, but curious on that.
Yeah, it typically coincides with our content. That way, they can start to understand how it can help solve for some of those pains that we identified in that discovery process. It will typically also coincide with a proof of concept or a trial, right? So we've launched a trial with them. They're testing out some of the content.
Mhm.
But if I, go and do a meditation for 20 minutes, and I was like, wow, that's going to resonate with this client I talked to last week. I'm going to go ahead and send something over to them. Say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I just listened to this. Here's why I'm sending it to you. Take a look. No need to get back to me. Just wanted to send it over.
Got it. Okay. No, I like that. I like that a lot. So, are there more like touch points that you have there that you do besides just an email?
So looking at our entire sales cycle, typically we've got at minimum 3 meetings. We're going to have our discovery. I personally think that doing the right discovery up front allows you to qualify and disqualify out later. So rather than trying to squeeze in a presentation or a demo in that first call, I'd rather just really try to understand what the client's going through,
Mhm.
not to try to sell, but to try to see if there's a fit for either of us to move forward to that next step. I don't want to waste my seller's time. I don't want to waste our prospect's time. So let's really dive into that discovery over the first 30 minutes, 40 minutes of that initial call. If we both determine that, that there's a fit here, we're going to set up next steps. Typically, that's a further evaluation, a demo of the platform, an overview of the mental health landscape. And after every call, we're setting those mutual action plans. I like to call them path to partnerships, right? Understanding what we need from them when they need from us to really make a decision here and move effectively through this partnership.
I like that. So now that you've gone through this experiment, sounds like it's going well and it's well received. I'm curious on when you send these type of emails, are people like replying back, being like, "Oh, that was really helpful. Now I want to meet with
Yeah.
you." Have you found that because you're not asking that you're actually getting more conversions?
Yeah. So it's typically not at that point of email. It's usually when we meet with them thereafter. So we are getting responses. Thank you so much. Thanks for thinking about me. I appreciated this. I went ahead and listened to that piece of content. Thank you. But it's in that meeting that we have thereafter. And what we're noticing is they're more likely to attend that next meeting. We're getting a lot less drop offs or cancellations or no shows because we are investing in them. We're investing in their mental health. We're truly listening to them and what they need and coming back to them and saying, hey, we've got your back here. We understand you're still going through the evaluation. It's still in procurement, still in legal, but we don't want to hold back our support in supporting you and your team. Here's something we want to send over in the meantime. If you want to talk, by all means, happy to have a conversation, but here's some content for you to listen to. We'll catch up next week when we have our next step.
Great. So, okay, now we've talked about things that you can do within the sales cycle, but we obviously need meetings to do that. So
Yeah.
could you give us like an overview of your outbound strategy that you've implemented with your mid-market team and walk us through what that team looks like?
Yeah. So we're on a traditional account-based territory model. We're going after accounts between 301 to 5,000 employees, full-time employees. And as you can imagine, using the traditional channels of outreach, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and calling. Uh, and right now, where we're seeing actually the quickest response is engaging in LinkedIn. But for us, that's not really where the conversation starts. We do a lot of time and spend a lot of time in investing into the industry, really being experts in the mental health landscape, engaging with content that is out there on LinkedIn. So when prospects are ready to talk, we have a point of view of that industry, and we're trying to break down that stigma of mental health and why we can't talk about it on social media or talk about on LinkedIn. It's a great opportunity for us to break that barrier and open that discussion up, which has really broadened our horizons of the types of conversations that we can have and how in depth we can get with clients, and quite frankly, how vulnerable we can get. And I think some of our top sellers are those ones that are willing to be vulnerable, willing to share their own stories, their own struggles, and how our solution has helped with them.
And so when you're looking at helping them, right? There's obviously you want to get in front of them on certain channels so you can have those conversations.
Yeah.
What channels have you found to be the most impactful? Is it calls? Oh, we're doing so well there, or is it LinkedIn? Like super curious. We've heard different answers across the board, so curious on how your team's operating.
Yeah, I think for us, we're seeing a decent conversion rate in outreach. We've got a lot of different um, type of sequences that are based on significant events. So, for instance, think about high stress and different industries. We're coming up against the holiday season. Retails can be very difficult. People on the floor are very tough for them. Tax season, right? We want to get in front of these stressors and stress events, and being able to support them in a way and being a little more proactive with our mental health. So that's one area we've been successful, is getting in front of those big stress events. But we've seen the best conversion so far on LinkedIn. The reason being is, you can engage quickly in a conversation, but we don't want, those call to actions aren't as strong. It's more of a introduction, putting a face to the name. Hey, I gave you a call. Here's who I am. Here's why I'd love to have a conversation. And then it's just another avenue for us, another communication channel, because quite frankly, we don't know how our prospects want to be communicated to. But because of that, we have to reach out to them on a few different channels and invest into ones that they want to engage in.
Do you how many so like on average, I know it's gonna be different for everyone. How many touches do you have per outbound campaign, and like what channels are you using? Like I can use 3 emails, 6 calls, like what's going on?
Yeah, there's a methodology that we deployed actually at Zoom, and I'm blanking on the name of it. But it is a very standardized approach of when the emails get sent out, the specific call steps, and when we want to engage over LinkedIn. I like the two touch approach. Having a call and then quickly an email following up saying, "Hey, I just met you. I want to talk about X, Y, Z. Let me know when you have an opportunity to talk." And then I love the LinkedIn, right? Soften the approach a little bit. Be a human, engage with their content, show them that you're a real person, not a robot. I think that's what's going to set sellers apart these days is softening up a little bit. Speaking with empathy and trying to understand what they're going through, to see if there's an opportunity for us to have that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. How important do you think it is for reps to just get more active on the phones? I feel like a lot of people are just like, I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still important. It is. Like myself, I got a cold call the other day from a BDR. I picked up, had a good conversation, wasn't a fit for our organization, but he tried to email me several times. And I think I like to engage where I'm working, and I'm typically working in LinkedIn. So that's a great way to get a hold of me. Send a message. I'll let you know if it makes sense for us to continue the conversation. So it's really looking at what channels our clients want to engage in. But with this hybrid environment, it is more difficult to get people on the phones in the office, but that's starting to lighten up a little bit.
Yeah. And then as you're looking at like lightening up, right, you need to make sure that you have the right people that you're talking to. And with prospecting, people see this as they don't do it at all or they do it. So how do you think about qualification?
I mean, we're using the traditional BANT methodology and starting to introduce MedPick. For us, I think what is most important is if they're willing to change and if they're willing to invest. That's where a lot of our deals get stuck in the process, is that period of indecision or no decision. And had the opportunity to listen to actually a webinar by one of our investors, Insight Partners, and I found it, very eye opening of where deals are getting stuck in that process. And typically, it's in that no decision phase where 40 to 60% of deals are being lost in that no decision, and it's because it's not the fear of missing out; it's the fear of messing up. So for us, it's really important to qualify those in and out, ask those tougher questions up front, and to understand, are they willing to get over that fear of messing up? Because that fear of missing out, that is no longer viable, at least in our industry. We really have to challenge and kind of use that jolt effect with our clients.
Yeah, was having a conversation earlier about the jolt effect, and I genuinely believe in that. Like most things you're going to lose just because they're just like, well, I just there's not enough forcing function for me
Yeah.
to do that. Kevin Dorsey, Katie had made a post on ROI is not the return on investment; it's the risk of the investment, right? And I think that's spot on, right? Is what you're talking about. So I know this is contextualized based on the conversation, but do you have questions that y'all are asking to figure that out at least?
I think for us, we have to first like really understand that level of indecision. Where is that coming from? Who are we speaking with, and why are they pushing off on making an impact or making an investment in their employees' mental health? Then from there, we got to offer those recommendations, and then we have to limit the exploration. Understand the why. Traditionally, they're going to believe that the salesperson might be hiding something. So we really want to establish a basis of trust, and then finally take risk off the table for your prospect. Help them understand why it makes sense for them to move forward with a solution, why it's going to be better for their career, why it's going to be better for their employees to move forward with this, and keep it very simple. You don't want to share 4 to 5 different options with them on contract. We often get so excited with our pricing and our presentations that we often forget we have to keep it simple. We have to ask them one question: is what's most important to them in a contract structure, and be able to go back and come back with something that's customized for them that fits for their organization.
Yeah. No, that makes sense there. And then uh, now that you have really good questions in order, you have the team. How are you onboarding? What's your 30, 60, 90? How do you make sure the reps are prepared to do the best they can at call?
Yeah. So I like to break it into, your traditional 30, 60, 90. I think moving from a traditional SaaS background, a lot of our sellers have to break that habit of selling a highly technical product. So for us, it's kind of breaking those old habits, allowing them to sell in a different way, sell with more empathy, really focus on that discovery, breaking into those 3 levels of pain, most importantly, those second and third level, and the personal impact. So over those first 30 days, we're really focused on, learning and breaking those habits. I want to get them introduced to the team, learning the product, and really becoming not so much obsessed, but industry obsessed, right? I want them understanding everything about the nuances of this industry, everything that's going on, so we can really be experts in this industry and speak eloquently to our clients about what's going on. Then we'll move into more hands-on training. I call them certifications. So making sure that they're good to run their own discoveries, their own pitch decks and demonstrations thereafter. Um, and then after that, really dissecting their book of business. So having them look in the industry, understanding which industries are investing in mental health right now, which ones are behind the curve of where they need to be from an organization standpoint. And then moving into that, 60-day, this is really when they're activating. They've spent the last 30 days learning and observing and breaking those habits. So, using the tools, we're using Sixth Sense, Outreach, uh, LinkedIn, sale or Navigator. So all these different tools we have at our disposal, how we can combine those, dissect our book of business to determine which ones we want to go after, which is going to give us our biggest ROI. Then we're dropping people into these sequences that we talked about earlier, those Agoji sequences that I mentioned, and then executing. So we want them booking meetings, getting their outbound skills up, and then finally executing on those inbound requests that we're getting. Then finally, we're moving into those final 30 days, so that 90-day mark. This is where we kind of assess and adapt. So we're going to do that 60-day look back. What worked well? What do we need to change? I'll be doing coaching along the way, sitting on meetings with them, jumping in where I can, but also providing them opportunities to fail, learn from those failures, and grow from those failures. And then once we make those adjustments, expanding their view, not just on new business, but looking at upsells and renewals, right? How can they go to market in a different strategy beyond just strictly new business?
Yeah, that's a good breakdown. Even I like the first 30 days is like breaking people out of the old habits. Now, if you're fortunate where you have someone where they are maybe newer to sales, you don't have to do as much, but the people you're working with, they've been through maybe a couple cycles. So to making sure they're not doing things that are like, wait, why are you doing that? You want to make sure they get them out of that, which
Yeah.
then leads into like two-part question. That's the first part, and then we'll follow up here. When you're looking at the DNA of a sales rep you're looking for, how and what questions are you looking for to identify that person? Like, this is the calm rep that we want. Here's their DNA, and here's how we find it.
Yeah, I think that that's an ever evolving question because who we're looking to hire is typically based on the void that we have on our team. I think there's a few core components that we're always looking for, and first and foremost, we want to make sure that they're invested in this industry, that they're really bought into the mission of trying to help improve our clients' health and happiness, and really having our sellers believe in our offering is a key component in that. So I'd say one, first they believe in our product and in the industry and what we're trying to solve for. After that, two core things, and this is always true as since I've been a leader, is grit and coachability. I want someone that's willing to give it their all to solve this mental health crisis that we're facing today. And then finally, does this person have a desire to be better and to be challenged themselves and others in that quest to be better? So those are really the three components. But again, having that ability to look at what is needed from the team right now, because there's always going to be a void when people leave or get promoted. So how do we fill that? Is that going to be the culture builder? Is that going to be the cheerleader, the one that exudes operational excellence, the grinder? All these different aspects of that really fill out and round a team. It really depends on what you're looking for, but I would say those first three components are something I always look for in a new seller here.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's just like someone willing to get after it is some of it, right? Like if you don't have that, it's not going to work. One thing that we looked at as when I was a BDR manager, SDR manager was, you probably heard this before, skill versus will. We always look for the people who had high will, and
Mhm.
if they had high will, high skill, that's amazing. If they had high will, low skill, that's fine. The worst is low skill, or no, high skill and low will. Like those are probably the most
Yeah.
frustrating people ever because you're like, yo, what are you doing? You can do
Yeah.
this. Those people are the worst, right? And so I definitely agree with that breakdown. And so as we wrap up here, we're going into 2024, 2023. It's still here, but it's approaching fast towards the end. What are your three core focuses that you would give advice to right now to an enterprise sales leader that's just looking to come in and have a great year?
Yeah, it kind of depends on where they are in a business and where they're looking to go, how long they've been around for. I can speak for us at least in my team. I think what we're trying to create is a repeatable pipeline engine. And that's going to be both for quick wins as well as long term, more strategic deals. And then, as always, pipeline and forecast accuracy. How can we get in a rhythm to really predict what's going to happen in the business so then we can start investing in those areas of growth where we need it to bring the business forward? And then finally, as you know, in the meeting today that we're in, it's all about going beyond Zoom. So getting physically in front of my team, investing in my team, but also getting in front of our clients and prospects. I think there's a lot to be said about those in-person meetings. I think even Eric Yuan would say in person is the best. After that, Zoom, obviously. But now that we're in a place we can start having these meetings, creating those opportunities to share and to build that goodwill amongst your team as well as your clients, I think is going to be crucial for our success next year.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for spending time with us here on this episode. Hopefully, y'all got a lot out of it. There's a ton to take away from here from onboarding, outbounding strategy, experiment. All right, the that email, y'all can definitely check that out. The calm content. But hopefully, y'all enjoyed this one and just took some notes to execute. And we'll see you on the next one.